Why does the yarn look like Japanese fluffy pancakes? Is it just me, or is it just because I'm hungry? Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, bopeepknits. My name is Lisa. Today's video is going to be a project vlog, so slightly different from other videos that you've seen here on my channel. I wanted to document my process of knitting my very first cardigan. So the Maggie cardigan has been on my mind for a while. I specifically want to knit this in a butter yellow color, and I know that it's going to be a difficult project. Like, a cardigan is probably the hardest thing that I could knit as a beginner. I started knitting about 3 months ago, so I don't know if I have the skill set to be doing this, but I'm determined to learn. I want to learn, and I also just want a butter yellow cardigan in my closet right now. It is spring, so butter yellow is all the rage, and I need more of it in my closet. So that is also a motivator. Another motivator for me starting this project, my boyfriend, Mr. Bo Peep, he actually bought me this pattern. So this video is sponsored by Mr. Bo Peep. I know beginner knitters are often recommended to start with more simpler projects like hats and scarves, and I've knit those. But I'm feeling extra motivated after finishing my very first sweater, which is the Step-by-Step Sweater by Florence Miller. If you want to check out that video, I'm sure it's uploaded by the time this video is uploaded, so I can put a link to that video in the description box. So let's chat about the Maggie cardigan. The pattern calls for sport weight yarn knit on 4.5mm needles. And you have the option to knit with only the sport weight yarn, or you can hold it with a mohair. I wanted to knit my Maggie cardigan in a butter yellow color, but butter yellow is not the easiest yarn color to come by until one fateful day I locked eyes with the most beautiful and luxurious yarn at my local yarn store. Isn't it so cute? This is the color of a baby chick. So this beautiful skein is from Laines du Nord. I don't know if Laines du Nord is a French brand or an Italian brand, so if you know, please let me know. But this is from their Eco Baby line in the color 25 Pale Yellow. And I'm pretty sure this yarn is discontinued. I don't know if maybe they have like a replacement baby yarn line now. But yes, it's super soft and super luxurious because this yarn is meant for babies, but I don't care. This color is absolutely perfect for the cardigan that I want to knit, and it's in sport weight, so I feel like that was meant to be for sure. So I bought up 10 skeins of this, and hopefully that is enough. So I will be holding the Eco Baby yarn with the Friends Kids Silk yarn from Hobbii. This is the color 21. I think the name of it is Pastel Yellow. It looks like a pastel yellow on camera, but in real life it is slightly darker, kind of is giving like a honey yellow color instead of a pastel yellow. You can see that the Eco Baby yarn is slightly cooler and this one is slightly warmer, so together they'll like neutralize each other. You don't have to use mohair for this pattern, but I am a loose knitter and I wanted to see if the mohair will fill in the gaps in my knitting. And so I'm really glad that I'm making this choice. And it's my first time working with mohair. I started knitting my swatch yesterday and it was looking comically large, so I had to redo it. I have some footage. I don't know if any of it is usable. So knitting a swatch is a first for me. I usually don't, which I know is bad. I would just like knit a small rectangle that would roughly measure out to be 4 inches in width. And like, I'll just knit until I am able to measure the number of stitches that I have on the swatch. And then I just unravel it and start my project. I know that that is not a good thing, and I'm going to try to be a good knitter for this project. And so I have my little swatch here. Will I block it? Probably not. I don't know if you can tell that there is a slight variegation. The mohair made the swatch super soft, super fluffy, and luxurious. I'm impressed. Like, I've never worked with mohair before, so I'm glad that I made the choice to do so. I forgot to mention, for the first time, I did meet gauge, and I think it is because of the mohair, like I had predicted. I usually size down in needle size, but I'm happy that for once I was able to meet gauge. I'm just going to start knitting the Maggie cardigan, and I'll check back in a couple of days. So it's been a couple of days. I'm here to check back in on my progress with the Maggie cardigan. You start off with knitting part of the back yoke, and then you move on to the right shoulder, and then you form the left shoulder. So I will try my best to show you my progress, but stockinette does curl into itself when you don't work in the round. But this is part of the back yoke, and then you work on the right shoulder, and then you form some increases here, and then you do the same thing on the left side. This left side here looks extremely wonky for whatever reason. I'm not too sure what went wrong. I replicated exactly what I did on the right side. The right side looks so much better and so much neater, but there's like the double stitch here. I'm not too sure what the terminology is, but there's a double stitching here, and then that's not present on the left side. But it just looks super wonky. I made a TikTok in hopes that one of the knitting girlies out there will be able to help me and figure out what went wrong with the shoulders here. By the way, I am on TikTok and on Instagram. I try to post more real-time updates on both of those platforms. So if you want to follow along on my progress, I'm bopeepknits on both of those platforms. But I don't know what to do. I might just have to frog this portion and just restart. And it won't be too bad. I only spent about like 40 minutes on this section here, so it won't be too bad to redo. But I just want to understand like what happened so that I don't repeat this mistake. I'm starting to think that maybe I'm biting off a little bit more than I can chew here. It's a little bit discouraging, but I will try to not let it get to me. So we'll see what happens, and I'll be sure to update you. Hi knitting peeps, I'm back. It's the next day, and I'm actually in my home office. I'm working from home today. I have a ton of meetings in the morning, but I think I'm able to squeeze in a little bit of knitting. I'm going to try to. I did do a little bit of knitting yesterday, and I managed to fix the left shoulder issue. I just frogged that part of the cardigan and just restarted. As you can see, I managed to fix it. There's like this double stitching. It's still a little bit wonky looking, but definitely way better than how it looked yesterday. And so I redid that, and I did the increases on the left shoulder, and then as well I joined the whole the back and the two shoulders here. So I am moving along with this cardigan. It's not looking too bad right now. I'm really happy that I was able to resolve the issue. I just have to remind myself that I'm working on a more advanced knitting project as a beginner. So I just gotta be patient and just trust the process. And, you know, I'm acknowledging that I'm learning a lot of new techniques. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of knitting during these meetings. And when I get a chance, I'll check back in with you. It has been a little while since I last checked in on my Maggie cardigan. I'm going to show you what it looks like now. The edges are a little bit rolled up, but it is going along great right now. I will say I am having a little bit of a dilemma. So just right before I had split for the body and the sleeves, I did a stitch count, and that was when I discovered that my stitches did not at all match the number of stitches that petiteknit indicates in her pattern. And I, not going to lie, kind of freaked out a little bit. I have my iPad here, and I will show you how many stitches I was missing. So for the left front panel, I was missing 6. I needed 3 on the left sleeve, 8 on the back, and 1 on the right sleeve. And for whatever reason, the right front panel, I had an additional 6 stitches. And I am not sure how that happened. I thought I was following the pattern exactly, but I guess I was not. I meant gauge, so I thought because of that I wouldn't run into any of these types of issues, but I am just not too sure what had happened here. I don't think I dropped any stitches, and if I did, I picked them up. So I don't know what could have went wrong. I was only able to find solutions to if you had dropped stitches, but that obviously was not the case here. I thought that if I just did a couple of additional knit rows and just do some increases in like the armpit area, that might maybe even out the number of stitches. And so that's what I did. And I also added stitches in the back as well, but obviously it just ended up looking so wonky. It just did not look right. I was pretty bummed out about how my cardigan was looking, to be honest, and I didn't know what to do. But I knew that if I continued to knit with all the wonky mistakes in my cardigan, I wouldn't be too happy with the final result, and I probably won't wear it. And so I just frogged the portion that I started doing some off-road decisions and just continued to knit the pattern as I was supposed to. My stitch count is totally off though, and so I'm a little bit worried that this will affect the pattern moving forward. I do know that I have to do some ribbing eventually, and so I'm really hoping that I have an even number of stitches. Because I've run into so many issues with my Maggie cardigan though, I'm feeling a little bit discouraged, and I want to put this project on hold, but at the same time, I just really want that butter yellow cardigan in my closet. So I'm going to try to push through. I'm going to have some hope in myself and in my abilities, and we'll see how it goes. So it's been about 2 weeks since I last updated you on my Maggie cardigan. I am losing track of time, to be honest. So I don't know. I feel like it's been taking forever to knit up this cardigan, but we're at the point now, I think, where I can actually start with the ribbing at the bottom of the body now. So I'm going to try on the cardigan, and you can see how far along I progressed. This is what my Maggie cardigan is looking like so far. I obviously don't have sleeves yet, but I'm at the point where I think it's a good length for me to stop knitting the body and for me to start the ribbing at the bottom hem. The plackets are curling in, so it's a little bit hard to tell, but it does fit. So I'm very, very happy about that. I was really worried that it was going to be too small, but it does fit, and I feel like once I finish the cardigan and I block it, it'll actually be a little bit more oversized. But at the moment, I am just anxiously waiting to finish the body, which I did, and now I need to do the ribbing. And once I do the ribbing, I'll do the sleeves. I'm planning to do long sleeves. And then after that, I will have to do the buttons. Oh gosh. So I still have a long way to go, but so far I am pretty happy with how it's looking. I really love the color, and I really cannot wait to cast off this cardigan. It has been a long struggle for sure. Honestly, I really miss working in the round. After I finish this cardigan, I don't know how many other cardigans I will be working on after this. I much prefer knitting in the round, but we'll see. Maybe I'll have a better experience knitting the sleeves and the ribbing, so stay tuned. I feel like the Maggie cardigan has been giving me trouble since day one. It's been a month now since I started this project, and I'm happy to say that finally, for once, I'm doing okay. This is how my cardigan is looking like. I've made a lot of progress. And so I have finished and binded off the bottom ribbing here. I'm very, very happy. I think I did a pretty good job. This is my second time doing Italian bind off, and it's not too bad. The pattern called for 6 centimeters of ribbing, but I actually ended up doing 3 just to kind of shorten it a little bit. I am a petite girly, so I don't need all that ribbing. And I will make sure to do the same modification on the sleeves as well. Speaking of the sleeve, I think I spent a couple of days on this thing and it knit up so quickly. There's nothing that I love more than knitting in the round, and I'm very, very happy with how it is going. I need to do a little bit more just because the length, I do prefer a longer sleeve, and the length is just not where I want it to be. So when I tried it on, the sleeve hits me about 5 centimeters above my wrist, and I do want it to be a tiny bit longer. I did make a little mistake when doing the decreases. So in the pattern for my size, I was supposed to do decreases every 13 rounds, but I actually started off doing decreases every 16 rounds, which obviously is not correct. I misread the pattern, and so I continued to do the decreases in the correct way moving forward, and so that's why there are different colored markers here. The sleeves knit up so quickly, so I feel like this enjoyment will not last for much longer. I just know that once I start knitting the button plackets in the front of the cardigan, I will just run into more and more issues, so I am not looking forward to that. I really hope that I finish this cardigan by the end of June though, just so I can at least wear this cardigan once, just once for the spring, just one time. I'm really hoping, I'm putting it out there, we're manifesting, but we'll just have to see how things go. Whatever, that's a future me problem. But for now, let's celebrate that, the Maggie cardigan is not giving me any problems. So a win is a win. We're going to celebrate that, and I'll check back in hopefully sometime soon. I know I am so overdue for a Maggie cardigan update. I honestly haven't really made much progress with it just because I kind of lost motivation, to be honest. I just don't really want to work on this thing anymore. I'm at the point in the pattern now where I'm working on the button plackets, and like I stopped right at the point where I am supposed to, what I assume, create the buttonhole. I think I'm supposed to do a yarn over, purl two together thingy. I honestly don't know, and I just want to give up. I feel like what I've learned is that I am very much a product knitter. I don't really enjoy the process of knitting very difficult things. I enjoy knitting in the round, and I did not do very much knitting in the round with this project besides the sleeves. And so it was kind of a tough process for me, and I know I'm like almost finished, right? Like I just need to finish this placket with the buttonholes here, and then work on this placket here, and work on the neckband and whatever. But I am over it. I'm so over it. I just want to finish this cardigan so that I can continue knitting other stuff. I also started sewing recently, and I think that has taken some time away from knitting and knitting this cardigan in general. I just don't want my experience knitting this cardigan, which is not even a bad experience, but obviously it is a little bit tough because I'm a beginner. But I just don't want that experience to kind of affect my love for knitting. I love knitting. I can see myself doing this hobby for a very, very, very long time. I don't think that sewing is going to take over that love, but I do really enjoy sewing right now. I've sewn quite a few things, and maybe I'll share my experience with sewing in a different video. I don't know. I intend to just finish the button plackets without the holes, and then just kind of do some sort of like I-cord tie front here and just kind of call it a day. And so that is my plan. I don't know if I will actually follow through with that because maybe knitting an I-cord will be super difficult. I don't know, but we'll see if that modification works. But if not, I'll just continue chipping away at this cardigan until I'm 85 years old. I have some very exciting news to share. I finally finished my Maggie cardigan. Now, in my last update that I had filmed, I was kind of talking about the struggles, my ongoing struggles with the Maggie cardigan, and I was feeling very discouraged. I was working on the button band at the time, the side with the actual buttonholes, and I just did not get it, and the pattern kept confusing me, and so I was feeling really discouraged at that time, and I was going to make a modification so that I would just do the I-cord ties instead of like the buttonholes. But I made a video on TikTok, and I received many comments and DMs from people encouraging me to just continue to work on the button band. And I just felt so happy to receive so many supportive and nice messages from everyone. And so I just felt like I owed it to them, and I owed it to myself as a beginner knitter to at least attempt to redo the button band. And so I did. And I'm not going to lie, it does not look the greatest. I'm going to show you the cardigan now. Obviously, I wouldn't pair the cardigan with that outfit, but it was the only way that you can kind of see it on before I block the cardigan. And so I'm just going to show you up close what the button band looks like. Not really sure if you can tell, but the buttonholes do look a little bit wonky. They look more like circles rather than like vertical slits that regular buttonhole button bands look like. But I don't know. It was my second attempt at this point, and I feel like as long as I button up the cardigan, it won't be that noticeable. I feel like this button band, the second button band, looks a little bit better. And then I worked on the back button, or not the back button band, the neck band. And that looks really great as well. So it was just the first button band that looks kind of ugly. But regardless, I'm still very happy with how my cardigan turned out. I am just so proud of myself. I did not think that I would get to this day where I would finish the cardigan. I will do a little last update of my cardigan after it's blocked. I'm going to do that right now, and I will check back in once my cardigan is fully done. So I finally finished my first ever cardigan project, and this is what it looks like completely finished. I just sewed on the buttons, and I managed to find these really pretty like butter yellow pearlized buttons. There's like a little sheen on them depending on how the light catches it. The buttons ended up being a really good color match, I'd say, on the cardigan, so I'm very happy about that. Butter yellow buttons are not that easy to come by, and so I was pretty lucky to find some buttons that worked with my project. So let's talk stats now. I bought 10 skeins of each of the yarns that I use. So I bought 10 of the Hobbii Friends Kids Silk and 10 of the Laine du Nord Eco Baby, and I ended up using 5 of each. So I had so much surplus yarn. I ended up selling the Hobbii Friends Kids Silk, and for the leftover yarn that I have for the Laine du Nord Eco Baby, I have a different project that I'm going to hopefully use up all of that yarn for that project. The total cost of the project was $97.70. That only includes the yarn. It does not include the cost of my labor as well as the cost of the pattern. The pattern was gifted to me by Mr. Bopeep, so I'm not going to count that in the project cost. In my opinion, I think that $97 for a completely hand knit garment made entirely of natural fibers, I think that's a really good price, especially compared to like what you would buy in stores today. As a beginner knitter, knitting the Maggie cardigan for me was a pretty difficult project. I had no idea how cardigans were constructed, so I didn't have that knowledge going into this project, and so that obviously made things super confusing and frustrating at times. And you probably saw in the vlog clips, but I was pretty down and pretty sad at certain moments of this project, and I honestly was going to give up. The biggest lesson that I learned through knitting this Maggie cardigan is that I had to be patient with myself. Obviously, I'm a new knitter. I don't know every single technique out there in this world, and I didn't understand how cardigans were constructed. And so not having the knowledge and then the ability to like execute these new techniques right there and then from the get-go, that obviously leads to very confusing and frustrating situations, right? But I had to be patient with myself and I had to believe in my abilities, even though I didn't have like the capabilities right there and then. Also, maybe I shouldn't be trying to learn all these like new difficult techniques right after an exhausting day at work. If your brain is fried, if you're super tired, you're not going to retain that knowledge. And so knitting tutorials are like 90% more effective if your brain is actually on. I'm not saying this to discourage any new knitters from knitting the Maggie cardigan, but obviously how I felt at that moment in time, I wasn't very confident with the knowledge that I had, which is not that much. And so the Maggie cardigan is a pattern that is definitely more for more intermediate knitters for sure. And if I was at that point in my knitting journey, I think knitting the Maggie cardigan would have been a lot less complicated for me. Throughout this project, I have been posting on TikTok, just updates on my Maggie cardigan and sharing my struggles on there. And I was so lucky to receive so many nice, encouraging, supportive, and helpful comments from fellow knitters on the platform. And if I didn't have that support, I feel like I would have felt so alone. I would have had no idea how to fix my mistakes, and I probably would have given up like a really long time ago. The knitting community is honestly so nice. Like, I was super grateful for the time that people took out of their day to comment and to give me tips and encouragement, and like that meant so much to me, honestly. Like, I was a beginner knitter, and like obviously nobody knew me. Like, I'm not like a super famous knitfluencer or anything. I felt like I was part of the knitting community, and that was just so special. Overall, would I knit this cardigan again? Maybe not right now, but I think when I am a little bit more of an advanced beginner, I think I will definitely try to knit the short sleeve version of the Maggie cardigan. I think that would be a great addition to my closet. The Maggie cardigan for me was a tough project, as you probably saw in this vlog, but I'm very glad that I took on the challenge, and I hope you enjoyed watching the struggles that I went through with this project. My next video will be a knitting podcast episode, so please stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot, and I think that you will have a lot of fun watching my beginner knitter chaos. And so until we see each other next time, happy knitting!